Hey,
Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to one of our Hobby Memorial Library events. We have our partners, Mayborn Science Theater, and our CTC Astronomer Warren Hart, and he's going to be telling us about our
hi.
May night sky.
Yeah.
So, welcome, Warren, and you
Hey,
can take it away.
very good. Let's go to the page of helping them to find where we have all of the information for them.
All
And
right.
here it comes.
Yes, it is on our library website. If you go to research study guides, and we've got a guide for everything, every class, every subject, you're going to find Astronomy and Mayborn Science Theater. And this is where we have all the information that, Warren talks about. We have information about the website. We also have, describe that. We also have the constellation maps and everything there. So, we are ready, Warren. Are
By the
you?
way, on that page that you showed, the constellations and the calendars there, they are all in a format that all you have to do is just go to it, and then from your computer, then you just click to download it, copy it, and then get you some paper, print it out. It's free.
Yep, yep. All righty. We are ready, sir.
Okay, here we go. Then we're going to wind up, if you will, of April, the last 3 days. And notice there's a couple of things I talked about last month for us. The path of the sun, there it is over on Sunday, the 28th, that the sun as it goes around, I just indicate where it is, what constellation it would seem to be in there. And then on Tuesday, the 30th, the last day of the month, we then, last time, we had gone through a total of 26 of the 88 constellations, which comes to 30% of all of them. And as you continue on reading and studying and seeing the different constellations, in December you will wind up with your full 88 or your 100%. And so you would have knowledge of what's everything is in the sky and where you want to look and what really ones interested you. So here we go. On Wednesday, the 1st of May, there was more information, so I split it into two columns. And that first column there, that as you see, is the moon has gone along in its orbit of the sun, orbit of the Earth, and it is over on what we call the last quarter or the third quarter location. And what is happening then as time goes on to the next location for the moon, we go, that's when you have a phase. And the phase is that the last quarter, that the illuminated side, if you will, of what we're looking at on the moon gets a less and less of the moon has the illuminated side that we can see. So it, in old English term, it is waning. It is losing its strength. It's losing the surface of the sun to the shadow there, and in that, the waning, it's a last quarter and a waning crescent uh, down there on May the 1st. So the rest of the week are the moonrise, moonset, sunrise, and sunset times. And you can see up in the very top there, the second line, I have there for you about the info and the abbreviation. As you would see, there's an MR moonrise, MS moonsets, SR sunrise, and SS sunset. So those are the times they're at the planetarium, and you can adjust that for how far away you are from it, and it would be just like a minute or 2 minutes or some few minutes. I don't anticipate it be hours or anything like that. So there we are for our first row. We're going to go down to our second row, and we are notice that now our moon also, as it goes around us 360 degrees, a full circle, but it moves in closer to us, and it also goes further away from us as it does that. And the term for when it moves closer to us as it goes around, we call that its perigee. And if you notice, there's the little the line there. It's the ninth closest to Earth of this year's 13 perigean moons. And so there's 13 of them we have in the year. Okay? And the perigee at that time would indicate something to us about what we would see in the sky, wouldn't we, Cindy?
Yes, it's a bigger moon because it is closer to us than
Mm,
usually. It's ninth closest to us. So it's
yes.
ninth biggest.
Yeah. Perilously,
Largest.
it's coming at us. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go to Tuesday the 7th.
Coming at us.
And the moon has moved on around from the third quarter, the last quarter position and the phase. We now have the new location. So the moon is directly in between Earth and the sun. And at that time is the precise point of where the moon is positioned, if you will. And then what starts up is what we would call its waxing crescent phase. And so, as you would see on a day as the evening at a time, you'd begin to see that little sliver of the sunlight on the moon there, and that is waxing a crescent. And since it is a crescent, an interesting thing, if the moon is still up, which it would be, and you're looking in the evening there, and the sun is already down, and you'd like to know, well, where's the sun? Anything can help me? Well, let that crescent be like a bow and arrow. And so make that a bow and then as an arrow there pointing in the correct direction. And the arrow is going to point to the horizon, the setting horizon there in the west, where further on would be where the sun would be. So the crescent points directly toward the sun. Okay, we're going to go over then to Friday the 10th. And on Friday the 10th, we are going to look at the first of our 9 1/2 constellations. Now, Warren, you said a half? Yep, I did. And so you're going to have to stay along with me so I can explain to you this odd thing about a half of a constellation. Does that mean part of it didn't make it or what? Well, let's see. Anyway, here is Bootes, the herdsman, and you see up in the upper right-hand corner of the map there and the top part of the white area just to the right, you see there's three black dots, each one representing a star, and the larger the dot is, was how we are able to signify and explain how much brighter it is. And those three, if you'll scroll back, we'll see there, Cindy, those three are the handle of the Big Dipper. So when I look at it and I leave just off the page there, the corner of the Big Dipper, and then I'm going along on the handle, I don't say I uh, uh, go down the handle, I arc as I travel through. Now why did I say arc, A-R-C? Well, notice if we kind of make that curve of those three and you go way on down to the bottom of almost the bottom of Bootes, number 7, the bright one, the name of that star is Arcturus. So it's a memory device for me. I arc along the handle of the Big Bear so I can continue that curving arc down to help me to find Arcturus. And Arcturus happens to be the brightest star in the northern hemisphere. So it's just an interesting thing to pick up. That's our first, and that is a complete constellation. So we have, so far, we have seen one constellation of the 9.5. Now, what we want to do is we want to go down into our third row of the calendar. And Cindy, if you'll go, thank you. And here we have, and in the third row, we have let's see, what we have on down. There's the sun as it moves through, and it goes into Taurus the Bull on Monday the 13th. You go on over to Wednesday the 15th, and there our moon has gone from the new position that it's gone up, and it's parallel with us in relation to the sun, and it's what we would call our first quarter. And there, and so uh, as it's going along at that point, it's going to change from a waxing crescent, which we got from the new moon. We're going to have a waxing gibbous phase, which means that as time goes on, more and more of the surface of the moon will be illuminated to us, and its gibbous, well, that's a different word. Well, it happens to be Latin, and what that means is hump, like the hump of a camel. And so you will see that bulge, and as time goes on, you'll see it continue every evening as it goes, and you're able to pick it up. You'll notice the increasing area on the moon that it has the sun's illuminated part. Then on that same Wednesday the 15th, in the evening, we're going to have our second of our 9.5 constellations. So here it is, it's Circinus, and it's called the Navigator's Compass. Not a whole lot on there, but actually that looks similar to a compass I used to use when I was flying in the B-52s as the navigator, and was hinged there down at the bottom part where the two lines come together, star one, and I could spread it out, and at the point of each of those two up there, 0.7 and 0.9 was like a needle point, and I could on my chart in there in the plane at the table, I could then take a distance, if you will, and figure out some things that I needed to tell the crew what we were doing or needed to do or anything like that, or where we were uh, there. And last month, those of you that were with us on that, we have to the right of Circinus, right there, the very large black indication of the star, and that's in, as you see, it's in the constellation Centaurus, and so that's the science fiction star name, and it's a real star, but it is Alpha Centauri, and it's just a little over 4 light years away, so it's it's the closest to us. And then to the far right there is the Southern Cross there, the crux, and that's what we also talked. But here we are in May, and as we're traveling on, this is the Circinus, the Navigator's Compass, and that's number 2. Let's see what the calendar points us as we continue. And on our calendar, we're going to go from Tuesday and we're going to continue over, and we are going to see on Friday the 10th, or Friday the 17th, excuse me, the apogee. And here it's the opposite of when we had up there previous, the perigee, the close moon. Here is the far moon. And so in the sky, it's going to look a little bit smaller there. And we get asked every once in a while, someone asks, is there ever going to be a time where we will never have a total solar eclipse? And that is correct, but you're not going to be here because it's somewhere, I think it's a little over 500 or 600 years from now. And you can't drink that much geritol, so you're not going to make it to that one. Now we go to Saturday the 18th, and we have our third of the 9.5, and this happens to be Ursa Minor, and that's Latin. All the constellations' names are in Latin. And so this is the little bear, and let's take a look at what it looks like for us here. And here it comes. And there you have Ursa Minor. And it is significant is that it's the only constellation that straddles the North Pole in the sky. And so there you can see that. And also notice the on the if you want to call Ursa Minor instead of it being called the Little Bear, it's called the Little Dipper. Now, I've mentioned before on the Saturday when I do the presentation, there's the Big Dipper, there's the Little Dipper, and I have 2 more that I talk about, and I point those out. I have a teeny dipper, and I have a giant dipper. So I got a total of 4, and I'll point those out to you. Notice here, the handle of the Little Dipper is bent incorrectly, if you will, and I think I sat on it one time and bent that handle. I did something to it. But anyway, notice what's at the far end of the handle. There is a star there, and that's listed as number 1 because it is a significant one, and that is Polaris. Now, when I say Polaris, that's Latin. What does Polaris mean?
North Star.
That's
No?
it.
Yeah?
Actually, pole star.
Pole star.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
but you're very good there. And so that's all. Now there are other names for Polaris, but it's so much in publication and hearing about it and everything. Polaris pretty well takes over as far as the other. You could call it one of the other names of it, and people would have probably virtually no idea what you're talking about. So Polaris, stay with that until you're ready to help them uh, learn some more about the sky. So Polaris then uh, gives us the constellation of Ursa Minor, gives us the additional constellation that we are looking at. And as I remember with this, that that is our third of our 9.5 constellations. So we've seen 3 total constellations so far. And we're going to go down another row here in the second side of the page. And over on Sunday the 19th in our May constellations, we come to Libra or Libra. You pronounce it the way you so desire. And those are the balance scales. Okay, here we go. And there looks like what a set of balance scales would look like. The point that where it would hang from, or the central point, would be up there at the top at star number 12. And then you have number 4 on the right and number 17 on the left. And then there's the bottom where the pan or the cup or whatever you are trying to weigh, you would put it in or attach to it. Now, here's what's interesting also about Libra. The name of that larger dotted star there, number 12, the name of that star is Zubin-Escamali. Oh, well, and number 4, the other star over there on the right, that's Zubin-el-Ganubi. What in the world are the names of those two? What do they mean? Well, the one number 12, Zubin-Escamali, means northern claw, C-L-A-W. And number 4, Zubin-el-Ganubi, means, what would you guess, Cindy?
Southern claw.
Southern claw. So let me ask you this. What does 2 claws have to do with balance scales?
I don't know.
Nothing. Nothing. Here's what
Couldn't
happens,
seem like
what has happened. Prior to 1930, that time period, there was no definite agreed upon talking between the professional astronomers worldwide of how large was the area for a constellation, when did it start, and when did it finish. And so they decided we need to get together, and so they did, and over a period of days, they established this white area that you see here for every constellation to tells that everything that you would see in the sky that happens to come into be a part of that whiter area there, it will have the tag on it that it is a Libra. And scroll up just a little bit to the top on there. There you go. Libre, or Libre there, that's how it would be. The name of whatever object is in Libra, the balance scales. Now let's scroll back down just like you have the picture. Is there anything that you would see that may give us an idea about having a northern claw and a southern claw? on that page?
The little circles to me look like a scorpion almost.
Well,
From
yes,
12, between 12 and 4 and all the way back to 3 looks like a scorpion. So
yeah,
that would be the claws on each side.
that's right. And you're correct there. Prior to a boundary was named, centuries ago and up to the 1900s, the scorpion was as large as those 2 points were still part of the scorpion.
Oh,
So there's other places when you go and looking at the names and things about different stars and locations there, you will see this. What is this doing in here? Well, if you go back prior to 1930, you get your answer. Prior to 1930, every constellation area was subjective. This professional astronomer said it was huge. Another professional astronomer may say, no, it's teeny. Well, who said? Well, nothing was decided until that 1930 uh, meeting, if you will, of the professional astronomers. So you keep the name, but you see the history of what's mentioned up there. So there we have Libra, the balance scales, and going on that. And Libra happens to be, if you will, our fourth of our 9.5 constellations. So we got 4. Let's go back to the calendar and we're going to look and we're going to see on Tuesday, the 21st, we have our next constellation and it's there in the second column and it is Lupus, Lupus, and that is for the wolf. And you see all of those different stars and get a picture of it, if you will. Notice up above and to the right, there is the word Libra, the balance scales. And to the left, there is the word of the scorpion. So you getting that? And we had also talked last month about the centaur. There's on the right is Centaurus. And we have, so as you go along, you become familiar with different constellations. You'll start to get a larger picture in the sky of what you are viewing and what you want to maybe remember or become familiar with. But anyway, here is lupus, Lupus. And lupus happens to be our 5th of the 9.5 constellations. Let's go back to the calendar. There it is on Tuesday, the 21st. And we go on over, and there on Thursday, the 23rd, our moon has moved on from our first crescent, our crescent moon, to a full moon. And now the moon is, if you will, in relation to us from the sun to the earth to the moon. The moon is, in a way, is behind us. And so there's the point. And then as it continues on, remember from first quarter, it started a waxing gibbous. Well, now we're going from here, from the full moon, it's going to be a waning gibbous. And the phase that you see on the moon is going to start as a bulge and going to keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller as time goes on. Let's go to our next week. starting on the 26th, and we're going to have here, notice on this, this is the constellation of Serpens Caput. Boy, that is definitely Latin. Serpens would be what?
Serpent.
Serpent,
Like a
okay.
snake.
Yeah, the snake. And caput, we'd have to figure out on that. What is it? It's the head of the snake. And this happens to be half of the total constellation. There is another part we're going to get next month that's going to get the tail. So here is why we have 9½ constellations for the month of May, because Serpens Caput is the first part, we'll say half, of the total constellation of Serpens. And there you see where it is. Now, if you look on it, it has different constellations around, and down at the bottom right corner, there you see our Virgo from last week, and then there is Libra from earlier this month. And so our path is going along this way, going down this way, and there is the equator. So you will be able to see all of Serpens Caput. And like I said, this happens to be our number, and this Serpens Caput is the 5.5. Now we're half now. So we're 5.5 of constellations we have seen. Let's go back to the calendar and let's see what is going to come up next. And we go from Sunday the 26th. We're going to go to Wednesday the 29th. And we have our next constellation. And the name of it is Corona Borealis. There we go. Now, what would you think corona would be? That's Latin. What would it be in English?
Crown. Because
Crown. Very
there's
good.
the answer.
Now what about borealis?
North, that means north, and then
There you go.
Australis means south.
Very good.
Get
So
there.
this is the northern crown, or if you want for a queen or a princess, a tiara. Okay, so here it is here, and look at its relationship. There you see our bootes on the right. We see Serpens Caput, the head, down below it. So Corona Borealis happens to be above the serpents, the head of the serpent. And there's all of those different stars there. And I use the crown as a pointing system to help me in finding another thing that I want to find in the sky. And I can see it, but we're going to get it next month. Okay. Now, so we are with Corona Borealis. We have our 6.5 constellations on our way. And the calendar is going to give, that was Wednesday. Let's take a look at Thursday, the 30th. And as the moon has been going on, it is now on the last quarter. So the waning gibbous is going to stop, but we're going to then start up with the waning crescent, because the moon is heading to eventually the new moon location. Now, we have here also on the 30th, we have a triangulum austral. Well, that's pretty easy to figure out. What would be triangulum? That's in Latin.
Triangle.
Wow, very good. And Australia means
Southern.
southern.
Yeah.
So it is the Southern Triangle. Now, my question is this in the history, and I have it on the other page. There was a professional astronomer from either England or France that was sent down to the southern hemisphere because that area had the up in Europe and all, and we couldn't see what's there in the south. So he was sent down for months or a year or so, and he was to map out the southern hemisphere. And notice how just creative he was. He just took three stars and he connected them and he called it a triangle. Wow. Is
Making
that
fun
the
of
only
me.
is that the only triangle in the sky? Oh, good night. There's millions of them. What in the world? I'd be embarrassed if I was told that was the name that I gave to something like that. Oh dear. But anyway, I'll press uh, on this. And so we now have, with this one, we are seven total constellations plus the half. So we have 7.5 of our 9.5, and we're getting closer there. So how in the world are we going to get two more constellations by the end of the month of May? Well, why not? Let's put both of them on one day or one night. And look at there. On May the 31st, there in the evening at sunset at 8:30, we are going to get our eighth constellation and our ninth constellation. So we're going to wind up with our 9.5. But here, first of all, here is number 8.5. And this happens to be Apus, A-P-U-S, or Apus, however you want to. And that's called the bird of paradise. It must have been singing in the trees, in the foliage, because you don't see a whole lot of it there. Or it was blending in so much with the foliage you couldn't tell, but you could hear the bird of paradise. So that's number 8.5. Look right up above it, and there's our famous Triangulum Australe. Okay, so there. Now we need one more. And where are we going to find it? Oh, that is Norma, the Carpenter's Square. Well, with the stars that were available in Norma, it was hard for us to make a square out of it. So we could have made it as a rectangle. But anyway, here is Norma. It's number 9 of the full constellations plus the 1/2 of the head of the serpent. And look what's down below it. This happens to be just above there. There is Triangulum Australe. And then on up to the top, and you see over to the left, there is the Scorpius. And we did have earlier for this month, look to the right, and there is our wolf, Lupus. So we're getting that. And then, of course, we also had Ara there too, or we get that. So here we are on the last day of May, the 31st, and we have now completed all of our constellations. And that would be then, if we added up, we had on, and I didn't put the number down. Let's see, we had 26 and 9, so we got 35 of 88 constellations, and that would be about 40 some percent. We're you're getting there. And here we only have the first day of June on this calendar. So that completes the May 2024 calendar. Any questions?
Well, if anybody has any questions, make sure you put them in the comments and we will definitely get them to Warren. And Warren,
Yes.
this is our last virtual night sky tour, but this doesn't mean that Warren is ever going away. He is
Yeah.
not.
They know my address, so I
So,
get,
yeah, so
yeah.
guys, this will be the last virtual night sky tour we do because Warren is retiring, but he will never retire from the sky.
No.
So I know if you guys have any questions for this month or any of the months before, make sure that you go ahead and put it in the comment section and we will get that question to Warren and we'll get that answer for you.
Okay.
So, Warren,
Yes.
this has been what, 3 years
Ah,
since the first winter storm that crashed the planetarium to now. So the library is very, very grateful for this partnership, and we were so glad that you wanted to do the virtual night sky tours because it has been fun. It's
yeah,
been
sure.
fun. I have learned so much. I know everybody else who watches it learns so much. And guys, just keep coming to the planetarium here on campus. Keep watching the night sky tours because guess what? Every year is going to have those constellations.
That's
So
right.
you're not
That's
going to
right.
be missing anything,
Yeah.
you know?
The main thing I wanted to emphasize in going through all of these is trying to help people to learn about a different part of the sky, the name and some other stuff there. And the whole emphasis is do not let the sky intimidate you.
Yep.
Take your time. If it's only one constellation, that's fine. And you get to become familiar with it and you read some more history or whatever information about it, name the stars that are in there, the other galaxies that might be in there, the other this or that, and just enjoy the sky that's there. And then Cindy, if you can, in our time, if you can go back to, and let's pull up, if you want, we can just pull up the very last constellation, and I want to show them something.
Um,
The actual constellation page, just pick any one of them, doesn't matter to me. Okay, here is Norma. There are 3 pages. Now notice here, okay, scroll back to number 2. There is a difference between the second page and the first page. Look at the first page. Go to the first page. Oh, there's that brown line there. What does that say? That's the planetarium's southern horizon. Or it may be in another constellation, maybe the northern or whatever. Now, scroll on down and notice I have here same thing, but that's not mentioned because I just wanted to put those in there in case someone from North Dakota was going to look and they didn't need all of the Central Texas colleges horizon and all that there. So I had 2 separate pages, one with and the other without. But every constellation has a first page and their last page. Now scroll down to this last page here, please, Cindy. Okay, now this is what's on every last page. First of all is that long list of all of the stars that are on that first or second page. And there's the information about each of those stars, basic information, uh, its address, if you will, how bright is it, how far away is it, and how big is it? And so that's what we have there. Now scroll on down there to the bottom, keep going. Now, there we are. Now, I want to point out to you, notice the next one down is the bordering constellations. Now, it doesn't say because I've done it on others and I'm updating all of that. The naming of the constellations are the ones that border this one. This is Norma, and I do it in a clockwise rotation, starting at the top of the constellation and going around clockwise. And as you notice here, there happens to be 5 constellations that touch, that are on the border of the constellation Norma. So let's say that Norma interested you and you want to, what's next? Well, there are 5 different other constellations that if you wanted to do some looking at. And then also some other things there. This one was an open cluster of stars, and its magnitude 5.4. That is going to be getting on the edge of being able to see it with just your eyes, and you're going to need either binoculars or a telescope. And then I include the other information, and there happens to be the astronomer, and it looks like he was from France, and he eventually called out, gave names here of Lachelle 14, and he was down in the South Africa Point Good Hope in the 1750s, and there's the name of them. So I try to give that information. Then the very last piece is, if you want to see all of the constellation Norma, then you have to be at or between these 2 different latitudes. If you were as far north as 29 degrees and 34 minutes north, you would still be able to see all of Norma. It'd be right on the southern horizon. And if you went down to the South Pole, minus 90 at the South Pole, then you would see all of it also. So from there down, you're going to see all of it. And so every constellation I have listed where you have to be on Earth to see all of it, whatever constellation you're interested in. There
Cool.
you are.
Very cool.
Mhm.
Well, thank you again, Warren, for
Yeah.
everything. And I just want to remind everybody, tomorrow we have our Galt Center event at noon. Make sure you tune in to watch it. And that's it, Warren.
Yes.
We have completed it.
Ah,
And
ah.
guys, the LibGuide will be there. All of the calendars will be there. Just keep going through that and keep an eye on what goes on from CTC. There may be other astronomy things going on. There's a lot going on at the Mayborn Science Theater. So it's been a fun ride, Warren, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate all you
Mhm.
do. And we thought about getting another astronomer, but we don't have nobody who has everything in their brain like Warren.
Yeah. Well,
We
if
can't
you look
we can't
behind me over
duplicate Warren's
here,
brain.
yeah, this is part of the books that I read to get the information.
Wow.
Yeah,
Keep reading,
that's
keep
right.
learning.
And that's what I'm doing. And you see it right here beside me is another full, and then the whole thing behind there, and in the closet. That happens to be back there, that dark opening. That's the this is the 3rd bedroom in this house. and it's totally over to this, which is my area. And then that other card table back there, that's where Marianne sits and does her sewing and making her puddle pads and all sorts of things like that.
She gets this much space.
Yeah, I share.
All right. Well, thank you again, Warren. And
Enjoy. And
yeah,
but there may be some additional things I'll get in touch with you and give to
oh
you
yeah,
at times.
yep, yep. All righty. Well, you guys have a great day, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Yep.